Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is how to tune your drums part 2. So what I'm going to do is a full reset on the 10-inch tom, which means take the top heads off, bottom heads off in the mounting system, give the bearing edges a wipe, reset the bottom head and reset the top head. So you loosen all of your tuning rods until a point where you won't need your drum key to loosen those rods. So a couple of turns around. Now this mounting system is a little bit tougher to get the tuning rods out of on half of the drum. And then the last two, as normal, you just loosen them off. So what we do next is lift that drum head off with the tuning rods, and you can place that to the side. Now the top heads, I'm using Remo, so the Remo color tone. I've got purple on the toms and green on the snare drum. So that's it there. Next step, we take the mounting system off. Now on a lot of drums, there's really only this piece that is drilled into the shell, and then you clamp this on to your tom clamp on your drum kit. The way Red Rock drums make their stands, now this is an older series, it's a Gen 1, Gen 2 kind of series. They went with this system, which I really like, and it allows the drum to vibrate freely without that mounting system being drilled in to the shell. What we do next, we flip the drum over to the bottom head. So that is out of tune, but it shows you the note of the bottom head. That is a little bit, the tuning of this is a little bit high. So we do the same thing again, loosen off all the tuning rods. Put the drum key down, 2 hands at a time, undo the tuning rods, these two to the route, and lastly these two. Then we lift it off again with the tuning rods, place that to the side. That's what I'm using at the moment, which is the Remo Weather King Ambassadors. So these are a single ply. They tend to sing a little bit more, give it a bit of a nicer note as well. And there's kind of a slight haze to it. So how to test if your drum head is still good or if it's past its time and you need to throw it out. You grab the drum head and you hit the center. You can hear there's still a note there. So that drum head's still good. A brand new drum head will sound a little bit nicer and have a slightly longer note to it. We put that to the side. Now, being a little while since I've taken these bottom heads off and the top heads off, you will get an accumulation of dust in there as well. So what we do, you can use a cleaning agent, or you can just use a towel or some tissues. You just take that dust off the bearing edge, top and bottom, just so that the drum head makes perfect contact. Really quick, Red Rock drums. This is the reinforcement system built into the shell that I spoke about in a previous video. So you can see here that they lathe those reinforcement rings into the shell. In this drum shell, you can see the mahogany and the jarrah. So the mahogany being slightly lighter and the jarrah being slightly darker. So that's the shell. You can see a bit of dust here and there. It's a good opportunity when you take all the drum heads off. It's a good opportunity to give the drum a wipe down, whether you want to use a cleaning liquid or you just want to wipe them down with a towel or some tissues. That's it there. So, okay, the next step, rebuilding it. We're going to start upside down. So we place the bottom head. So make sure your logo is upside down. You grab your resonant head, make sure it's clean, give it a little wipe to get any of the dust. Sometimes you can get little chips from the sticks. And what I normally do is I put the brand of the drum head in line with the brand of the drums. That way, it's more important for the top head, but that way, when I'm moving my drums around, I know exactly where that logo is facing in a live setting, and I can move that accordingly. The next step, we put the bottom rim on with the tuning rods. Now, I normally take all the tuning rods out, wipe everything down, make sure everything's clean. So as long as there's no gunk built up underneath, you should be fine. We place that down. And we tighten these tuning rods, make sure that's sitting down properly. We tighten these tuning rods finger tight. So you drop them all in, do them up. So normally doing up 2 at a time. You can hear that start to pick up a note. Make sure that's sitting straight. So that's flat. Let's give that a little bit more. So slight turn up. Still a little bit flat to project that note. Tune it up a little bit more. You'll hear that note coming up as I'm tuning. Now, there's a good amount of life in that note. Before we go to the next step, I'll just explain something. So when you purchase a beginner drum kit, tuning is a little bit more difficult. What you'll find is when we go to tune and we do this and then bring that note up, you'll hear that gradually goes up and it's even. With a cheaper drum kit, what will happen is you'll be turning this and you don't get much variation in the note. So you find yourself turning and turning and turning, then it'll slightly crack or pop, and that note will either drop slightly or come up. So it's a little bit inconsistent, but if that's all you've got at this point in time, work on tuning. So practice that so you know your drum kit. So when you're in a live setting, you know exactly what to do if it's out of tune. The next part is, like the first video, index finger in the middle. So this one and this one are the same note, but this one is flat. Still hear that flat spot? Now you hear in the note, it wavers a little bit. So opposite tuning heads will have the same note. flat spot there. So that's enough bite, attack, and projection coming out of that bottom head. So that's the tone that I'm looking for with my drums. So really quickly, the difference between the two drum heads is your top head is the pitch of the drum, so low note or high note. Your bottom head is your tone, so what type of tone you want your drum to have as the sound passes through it. So I'm happy with that bottom drum head. Reassembling the top head. So we need to place the mounting system, which sits on 4 of those lugs. So these are the Remo Emperor color tone. They're a 2-ply head, and they give quite a low, short note, and they cut a bit of that high frequency out of the tom, which gives you a good 80s sound around the drum kit. Like the bottom head, let's line up that logo with the drum logo. That's it there. Okay. We place on that top head. The top drum head is on now. The mounting system's on, the rim and the tuning rods. So when you're working on your tuning, first thing to do, you've got all the tuning rods are loose, they're just barely threaded into the lugs. Do the whole set up finger tight to start. Now, you can use a drum key or you can use your fingers, but you go just until that tuning rod bites into the lug and stop. Then you go to the next one. It can be any order for this. It doesn't have to be star pattern to start, but you just go until that tuning rod bites into that lug. So only a couple of turns. Check the drum all the way around. Make sure the tops of those tuning rods are touching the rim. Okay, so that's it there. Quick check. Okay. This is the note of a finger tight drum. So you can hear that's flat. You hear that vibration in the tom. So needs to be tuned up. So you can start doing it this way, but the drum is too flat to start. So we want to go quarter, 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 a little bit more on that one, back. So we're doing star pattern and opposite at the moment. Check that note. I'm happy with the note, but there's one lug that seems to be out. So let's check that out. That's the low one. That's the high one. And you turn it until the waver becomes a consistent note. Let's give it a little bit more. So it's starting to get even better. You can hear those extra notes in the tom. That's going to be okay because I can put a moon gel on the tom if I want to, or some dampening. Some people put gaffer tape or mute the drum in different ways. I'm happy with that note because it's projecting really well. So top and bottom heads are good, and it's giving me the drum sound that I want. So I'll do this the whole way around the kit. This is the 10-inch. Do the 8 first normally, then the 10, 12, 14, and 16. Now the 16, the way I tune that is finger tight around the whole drum kit, and it's only a quarter turn on each of those tuning rods. It doesn't need to be any higher than that in a rock style. So if you want a real heavy, thunderous drum sound, like Eric Carr, Van Halen, AC/DC, that's the type of tuning that you want. Please let me know if you've got any questions on the tuning process that I've gone through today. Leave a comment, of course, and suggest any other drumming videos or lessons that you would like more information on and a video on. As always, enjoy drumming, experiment with the tuning, and I'll see you in the next video.